and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show because we're going to be speaking about one of the world's favorite subjects, and certainly mine, and that is sex. Sex, sexuality, the nature of sexual pleasure, how to get it, how to get more of it, and how to bring together two people, or more, but in this case we're going to be focusing really on two people focusing on maximizing their pleasure and maximizing their own masculine and feminine natures to realize that kind of outcome. We have with us today really an expert on the subject, and that is the author of this book, Women's Anatomy of Arousal, Secret Maps to Buried Pleasure, and that's Sheri Winston. Sheri has a really interesting background as a registered nurse. She's worked with gynecologists for many years. She's a licensed massage therapist and a nurse practitioner. She's been involved in helping bring babies into the world for 20 plus years, and for the past 10 years or so, she's been teaching about sex and sexuality. And in fact, not to mention the great pleasure of such a subject, it's so needed for people to kind of get clear and apprised, educated about this subject that is so deeply important to us all, and yet something that in different ways we all sort of shy away from and tiptoe around because it's so charged and important a subject. So on that note, Sheri, welcome to the show.
Welcome. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad. As I was saying, you know, sex is really the core. As I was saying to you before, biology is one of my favorite subjects, and right along with it are peace and love. Now, I was thinking about it. What is the hub of the wheel of all of those things? To create peace in the world, if people have a powerful, beautiful, satisfying sexual relationship, the hormones in the body bring them to a state of peace, right?
Absolutely.
If they want love, they ought to learn how to make love and all the caring that that involves with the other person. And then they learn to be selfless. And, right? It's like the whole lesson of life is sort of like right there, the whole nexus.
Well, I think sex pretty much is the energy that makes the world go around. Most life on Earth, complicated life, multicellular life, reproduces sexually. Asexual reproduction was good for a bunch of billion years if you want to make single-cell creatures.
Yes.
But once you want to get more complex, you need sex.
Exactly.
And so
we've gone beyond the asexual, monocellular
level.
fun.
Exactly. So once you recognize that sex is the manifestation of the life force, then you understand that it's an integral part of who we are and what life is. And when you connect to your sexuality, not as something separate, not as an activity that goes on behind a locked bedroom door.
Yeah, with the lights off, perhaps.
But as,
God forbid.
but as part of who you are, as part of your core nature, that's part of everything. That's a whole different relationship to your sexuality. And that's what I believe.
Well, I completely agree with you, and I have been contemplating this a lot for a long time. In fact, a book I'm writing, I did a whole long chapter on the subject. And in contemplating, Sheri, I said, you know, the entirety of nature is actually designed around sex. And it sounds like, who didn't know that? But when you really sit back and holistically contemplate that reality, and say, my God, this thing that we do behind a closed door with the light out, under the covers maybe, is like the true splendor of all of nature's and creation. It's like, what are we doing? Bring it out and celebrate and honor and sacralize this magnificent way of being.
I'm with you completely on this.
You know?
I think that because it's such a powerful force, I think of it as sort of number 2 on the hit parade. Number 1 is personal survival. Right? I must survive. Number 2 is reproduction.
How does that song go? I will survive.
That's number 1.
You're reminding me. But after that, it's all about love and sex.
It's all
right?
about sex. It's all about reproduction. And
Yeah.
that energy, that drive is so powerful, we can't suppress it. cultures have tried. We've got 2,000 years of Western culture that has tried really hard to suppress our sexuality, to repress it and keep it contained and separate it from the sacred, separate it from the rest of our lives, and separate us from our own sexuality, and it doesn't work. And in fact, you were talking about peace and love. I actually believe all violence of every form is twisted sexual energy.